We're going to continue making dot plots and describing the distribution. If we're looking at letter C, unlike A and B that we did previously, we don't want to go by ones. If we look at our minimum value, we see that it's 75. If we look at our maximum value, we know that it's 180. That would be a pain to go by ones. So what I'm going to do is go by fives. And when I go by fives, I'm just going to write the tens down. So I'm going to start with 70. I'm going to go by 5. So I have 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, 100, 105, 110. Notice I'm going by fives, but writing the numbers, I'm just going to go by tens. It just saves me time. 115, 120, 125, 130, 135, 140, 145, 150, 155, 160, 165, 170, 175, and 180. So now, remember, we could either put dots or X's. I personally like the dots. So 75, 85, 95, 85 again, 80. I have 105. I have 95. I have 120. I have 125. I have 180. I have 135. I have 140. And I have 115. Now, after I make the dot plot, what I'm going to do is I'm going to describe the distribution. When I'm describing the distribution, there's 4 characteristics that I describe. Remember, we're going to use the acronym SOX. So I'm going to first talk about my shape. Now, when we're looking at the shape, what I always do is look at the center. Notice that we've got some peaks right here. So notice that it's more spread out on the right-hand side than the left-hand side. So that means that it's skewed right. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my outliers. And we are looking at the points and we see that we have one way off far from the other ones. So we have an outlier that's 180. Then I'm going to talk about my center. Remember, there's a couple different centers. The center that we're going to focus on today is just the mode. The mode is the one that's the most frequent. Notice that we have 2 that are the same height, so it's actually bimodal. Our modes are 85 and 95. And you could sound smart and put bimodal, but you don't have to. And the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at our shape. Sorry, our spread. So with the spread, we're going to focus on the range today. And the range is when we take our maximum, in this case is 180, our minimum, which is 75. Remember, we're going by the dots, not our last number. So we take 180 minus 75, and that gives us 105. And this is how we describe the distribution. Now, looking at letter D, we're going to do the same thing. Notice in this case, the spread is not as big, so we're not going to go by fives. So I'm going to go by ones again. I first have to figure out my least value. In this case, I see that 47 is my least, and then I have to look for my greatest value, and I see 61. So I'm starting at 47, and I'm going to go to 61. And remember, we could either put dots or X's. I personally like dots. So I see one at 54 and 47, 58, 61, 59, 56, 57, 59, 60, 58, 59, 60, and 59 again. First thing that we look at is our shape. And when we're talking about our shape is what it looks like. We have three main shapes that we focus on: skewed left, skewed right, and symmetric. How we tell is where it's more spread out tells us what our skewness is. It's really spread out on the left-hand side, so that means our shape is skewed left. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at our center. We only have one peak, or the mode. And a lot of you probably noticed that I skipped one. So let's go back to the outlier. Does anybody see the outlier? Hopefully you see the 47. And back to the center, we're talking about the mode or the peak, and we see that it's 59. Last one we're going to do is the spread. And the spread, we're focusing on the range. And remember, the range is our maximum value. So in this case, our maximum is 61, and our minimum, which is 47. So our range is going to be 61 minus 47. And that right there gives us 14. And that's how we describe our distribution. Now our last one. We're going to draw our number line. We have to identify what our least value is. And when we're looking at these, we see that our least value is 100. And our greatest value. Our greatest value for looking at it is 120. So 100, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 110, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 15, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 120. So we're going to put dots above each of the numbers. What we have is, oops, I should go in order so I don't make a mistake. 102, 104, 112, 110, 108, 100, 102 again, 104, 106, 102, 104, and 120. And that right there is my dot plot. Now, some of you might have noticed that all of these are even numbers. So I could have gone by twos if I wanted to. I thought this was a little bit easier, but going by twos and just putting even numbers on the number line would be another valid method of doing this. So we have our dot plot. Now let's describe our distribution. We're going to start off with our shape. And with our shape, notice that we have our peaks at this side. So the skewness is where it's spread out, and we see that the data is spread out more on the right-hand side. The shape is going to be skewed right. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at our outliers. And we only have one outlier. There's one point that deviates away from the rest. These ones are about the same amount spaced out, so we're not going to call those outliers. This one is far away from the rest of the data if we're looking at it. So our outlier would be 120. Our center is our peak, or our mode. And if we're looking at this, we have two peaks. What we have is 102 and 104. So once again, this is bimodal. Once again, you don't need to say bimodal, but bimodal just means two modes. And the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at our spread. And our spread, we're focusing on the range. The range is our maximum, which we set is 120, and our minimum, which is 100. So that means our range is